Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. Emma hummed along to an old song playing on the radio. The song is almost 30 years old and was a hit when she was 18. She was on the threshold of adulthood at the time, filled with visions of the future. In fact, she vividly remembered the first time she made love to Nathan when the song was playing. Emma's smile widened at the thought. They were both 18 years old that year and ready to take on all of life's challenges. Truth be told, there wasn't much genuine love between them that summer, but rather youthful lust. They made out on any flat surface they could find, indulging each other's bodies with reckless abandon. Emma's favorite memory is the summer after high school. She and Nathan were naked in each other's arms, lying on a sheet spread over a haystack, entwined in Nathan's uncle's barn loft. Moonlight shone through the open barn door, softening their silhouettes. It was their third fuck of the night. Afterward, they snuggled together, wrapped in their sheets, and Nathan pointed out to her a fox sneaking across the grass. But every summer is always followed by fall. They each went to different colleges and didn't return home until they graduated from college. Despite living in the same neighborhood, they barely met in 2 years. They don't meet again until Nathan uses the bank she works for to secure a business deal. 18 months later, on a warm April afternoon in the country Baptist church attended by generations of the Nathan family, Emma Sullivan became Mrs. Nathan Cooper, and no one was surprised. For their honeymoon, they chose a nude resort. Back home, Nathan gives Emma a wedding gift, startup capital to open her own office, and Nathan's business becomes its first client. Years later, Emma had 8 offices in 2 states and spent a week a month traveling to different branches. Nathan now owns 4 stores and earns just over 7 figures a year, while Emma's net income is about half his. That's an absolutely huge amount of money in this rural community. They are now considered the redneck elite of the community, wealthy but not arrogant. Emma pulled into the driveway of their 4-bedroom house and sighed. They've never been able to fill those rooms with children. Complications arose during the birth of her daughter, after which she was unable to have any more children. So they poured all their love into their only child, while making sure she grew up to be a wise and responsible adult. She had just graduated from college, and now the family was truly an empty nest. Yes, Emma thought as she walked towards the kitchen, they were rich, still attractive, had a great kid, and life was just perfect. Thursday was takeout night, and her nose told her tonight was Chinese food, her favorite. Emma finds it odd that the food is still in the box while Nathan is sitting on the deck watching the sunset. She grabbed a couple of plates, filled them with food, and carried it out. She noticed he had a mug and pot of sweet tea ready. She grabbed another glass and cutlery and sat down next to him, a little surprised that he didn't kiss her, and when she leaned over he turned his head so that she only kissed his cheek. Immediately worried because it's so unlike him, she asks him how his day was. Still staring at the field in the distance, Nathan replied, "The morning was boring, but I have an interesting lunch date." Emma smiled. Is it a pretty little girl or a grumpy old man reaching for something? Quite an attractive man, actually, Emma said, feeling a chill run down her spine. Not only because of the person he was lunching with, but also because of his tone. He spoke in a low voice, the voice he used when he was angry, as she knew from experience. Nathan stood up and walked to the end of the deck and looked out over the small lake he had built and stocked with fish. "What did you talk about, honey?" "Sex." "Sex? Why would a 24-year-old woman want to talk to you about sex?" He turned and looked her straight in the eye. Emma's heart leapt into her throat with a sense of fatalism as she listened to him. "Well, it looks like she and Lucas are going to have an open marriage. As far as I know, it was his idea and he spent weeks convincing her to agree. She just wanted to know if I would like to be Lucas' first partner since you are going to be her first partner, and we have such an understanding and happy open marriage. Because she thinks I'll be gentle with her." We had a long talk, Emma. That poor girl was really confused and scared, but in the end she stopped being scared and became angry. You might want to warn Lucas to watch out for people coming to serve subpoenas on yourself. What the hell were you thinking? Fishing in the company. She's going to file a huge lawsuit against you. And this is still a state that allows lawsuits for third-party penetration. You're going to be out of luck soon. Now I want you to look me in the eye and tell me that this is all a trick by a couple of liars, that you never did anything she told me, and that you're willing to countersue and put them in jail. Because if there's even the slightest bit of truth to it, you and I are done for, you understand? It's over. Emma sat there, dizzy with shock, trying and failing to organize her words. No, not now. How could this happen? Lucas said she agreed to it. Damn it. Nathan stood there looking at him for about a minute, then spoke up. I guess so. I'm leaving now. I think I'll stay on the farm for a while. Don't try to talk to me, call me, email me, or even send me smoke signals. We'll talk when I'm ready, not before. Damn you, Emma. Damn you. Emma wasn't sure how long she had been sitting there, but when she came back to her senses, she could already hear Nathan's truck disappearing into the distance. She sat down again and looked at the 2 plates of food, too shocked to cry. 2 hours later, the food was inedible and crawling with flies. Sunset had disappeared into a cloudy night with not even a star in sight, and no glimmer of hope for her to latch onto. She stood up, leaving the mess for the butler to clean up, and headed straight for the liquor cabinet. For someone who rarely drinks, his wine cooler has quite a selection. She smiled at the bottle of rye whiskey, Nathan's favorite, still only half drunk after 6 months. She frowned seeing her favorite vodka bottle almost empty. Might as well drink it all, she thought, picking up the bottle and drinking until it reached the bottom, then opening another one. Carrying a large glass filled with nearly half a pint, she walked into the kitchen and added 3 slices of lime. For some unspecified reason, she returned to the terrace, raised her glass toward the east and said, "Good night, Nathan." Then Emma cried and drank as she cried, repeating the process until she stopped crying and passed out. Nathan drove his truck down the familiar country road to the family farm. The night was dark, but he knew the path like the back of his hand, and could even find his way with his eyes closed. As he turned onto the farm's dirt road, the silhouette of the old 2-story farmhouse loomed in the moonlight, silently overlooking the farmland below. Parking the car, Nathan took a deep breath, the aroma of grass and earth filling the air. This place always calmed him down, but tonight, even this familiar setting couldn't soothe the hurt inside him. He walked into the house, turned on the lights, and looked around. Everything here remained as he had left it, as if time had stood still here. Nathan walked to the kitchen and poured himself a glass of whiskey, then sat in a rocking chair on the back porch and watched the moonlight spill over the field. Memories come flooding back like a tidal wave. He thought back to the summer he met Emma, when they were young, naive, and full of promise for the future. Emma was so lively, smart, and passionate back then. They were deeply in love and thought that this love could overcome everything. However, over time, everything changed. Emma began devoting herself to her business and her accounting firm flourished, soon opening branches in 2 states. Nathan is proud of her success, but at the same time feels an inexplicable sense of loss. Emma has less and less time for her family, and even when she is home, her mind is always on work. Nathan thinks back to when their daughter Sophia was born. It was one of the happiest moments of his life, but it was also when he began to realize that Emma was drifting away from them. Postpartum complications have left Emma unable to have any more children, a blow that seems to have become an excuse for her to work full-time. Maybe I should have seen it coming, Nathan said to himself, taking another sip of his drink. He began to recall the tiny signs. That Emma traveled a lot, was always distracted when she came home, and that her interest in family life seemed to be dwindling. To fill the void left by Emma, Nathan pours all his love into Sophia. He recalls how he set up a daycare center next to his store so he could spend more time with his daughter. That daycare center, Nathan smiled and shook his head. I didn't think it would become one of my proudest achievements. The daycare center wasn't just for Sophia. It became a benefit for the children of Nathan's employees. He employs professional childcare staff to ensure that the children are not only cared for, but also learn. By school age, these children can read and write, know basic Spanish, and have developed good study habits. Nathan remembers Sophia's time at the daycare center, how she made lifelong friends there, and how she thrived under her father's care. I tried, he muttered. I really did. Meanwhile, at their home, Emma finally comes out of her alcohol-induced stupor. She had a splitting headache, but the pain inside was more unbearable than the physical discomfort. She curled up on the couch and thought back over everything that had happened in the past few years. How the hell did I get this far? Emma asked herself. She tries to make excuses for her behavior. Stress at work, feeling neglected, needing stimulation, but all these excuses seem so pale at the moment. Emma remembers her first encounter. It was on a business trip where she was feeling lonely and stressed, and the young sales rep was so thoughtful and passionate. At first, she told herself it was just an accident and it wouldn't happen again. But then, once became twice, and twice became a habit. "Nathan," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks, "I love you. I really do." But she knew that love alone might not be enough anymore. She betrayed Nathan's trust and their marriage vows. Emma stood up and stumbled to the bathroom, looking at herself in the mirror. She hardly recognized the haggard, red-eyed woman. "What have you done?" she said to herself in the mirror. She started thinking about how to save her marriage. Maybe she could explain it was all just a moment of weakness and promise never to do it again. But Emma knew that Nathan wasn't the type to be easily deceived. His trust, once lost, is very difficult to rebuild. Back at the farm, Nathan's thoughts returned to the present. He remembered what Olivia had told him, and anger surged through him again. He picked up his cell phone, hesitated, then dialed a number. "Hello, this is Detective Hawkins," came a raspy voice on the other end of the line. "Hi, I'm Nathan Cooper. I need you to investigate one person? No, two people." "I understand, Mr. Cooper. What do you need us to investigate?" Nathan took a deep breath and said, "I need you to investigate everything about my wife. Her whereabouts, her contacts, all possible intimacy. There's also a guy named Lucas Bennett, and I need to know everything about him, too." "Okay, Mr. Cooper. We'll start an investigation as soon as possible. How often would you like us to report to you on our progress?" "Once a week," Nathan said. "Keep me informed if you find anything important." After hanging up, Nathan felt a wave of exhaustion hit him. He knew that from this moment on, his life would never be the same again. Regardless of the outcome of the investigation, the trust between him and Emma has been broken, and it's nearly impossible to repair it. He stood up and walked into the house to Sophia's old bedroom. The room was kept the way it was when she left home for college, the walls covered with photos and the shelves filled with her favorite books. Nathan picks up a family photo that was taken at Sophia's high school graduation. In the photo, the three of them are smiling brightly and look so happy. "We were so happy once," Nathan said softly, his fingers brushing over Emma's face in the photo. "How the hell did we get here?" He put down the picture and walked to the window. Outside, the moonlight was still spilling over the fields, and the night breeze was brushing over the waves of wheat. Nathan knows that no matter what the future holds, he must stay strong, not only for himself, but for Sophia. "I'll get through it," he said to himself, "no matter how it turns out." With the arrival of dawn, Nathan decides to start a new day. He needed to stay calm and rationalize what might happen next. He knew that hard times were ahead, but he was determined to preserve his dignity and protect Sophia from this storm no matter what. Emma knows it's going to be a long, hard fight, but she's determined to save her marriage, even if it's only a glimmer of hope. Emma begins to think about how to prove to Nathan that her confession is sincere and how to rebuild trust between them. What she doesn't realize, however, is that Nathan has already begun his own investigation. Both will face hard choices and painful truths in the days ahead. Is there any room for redemption in their love story? Only time will give the answer. Lucas Bennett awoke to find himself lying on a cold concrete floor with a splitting headache. He tried to move, but found his hands cuffed behind him. The bars around him told him he was in a police station holding cell. "Damn," he cursed under his breath, remembering the events of last night. Nothing should be like this. His plan with Olivia was supposed to be perfect, a mutually agreeable open marriage where no one would get hurt. But now it's all turning into a nightmare. Lucas recalls last night's argument with Olivia. He feels angry and betrayed when she tells him she went to see Nathan Cooper to try to verify that Lucas actually had Nathan's permission. Their argument escalated and eventually, He lost control and slapped Olivia hard. Now, lying on the floor of the holding cell, Lucas realizes what a grave mistake he made. Not only could he lose his wife, but he could also face serious legal consequences. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Olivia Bennett is lying in a hospital bed with bruises visible on her face. Her left eye was so swollen she could barely open it, and there was a thin blood stain at the corner of her mouth. The nurses talked softly, shocked and sympathetic to the abuse suffered by this beautiful young woman. Nathan Cooper stood in the hospital hallway with mixed emotions. He wasn't supposed to be here, but when he got the call from Olivia, he felt obligated to help. After all, if it wasn't for him, maybe none of this would have happened. Mr. Cooper? A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. Nathan turned to see a female officer standing there. I'm Officer Martinez. Mrs. Bennett wants to see you. Nathan nodded and followed Officer Martinez into the hospital room. Olivia looks more vulnerable than he thought. Relief flashed in her eyes when she saw Nathan. Nathan, she whispered, thanks for coming. Nathan sits down on the edge of the bed and gently takes Olivia's hand in his. I'm so sorry, Olivia. None of this should have happened. Olivia shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. Not your fault, Nathan. I was the one who was naive enough to think that Lucas really loved me and that this stupid plan would make our marriage stronger. Nathan felt a pang of guilt. Even though Olivia says it wasn't his fault, he still feels some responsibility. Tell me, Olivia, what can I do for you? Olivia hesitated, then said, I want to leave Lucas, but I don't know what to do. I have no money and no place to go. Without hesitation, Nathan immediately said, I'll help you, Olivia. I'll get the best lawyers to handle your divorce, and I'll arrange a safe place for you to live. You don't have to take this abuse anymore. Olivia looked at Nathan gratefully, tears in her eyes. Thank you, Nathan. You're such a nice guy. Immediately after leaving the hospital, Nathan contacted the best divorce attorney he knew. He knew it might cause some gossip, but he didn't care. He feels he owes Olivia and he wants Lucas to pay for his behavior. At the same time, Emma was sitting in her office, trying to concentrate on her work, but her thoughts kept drifting uncontrollably to Nathan. It's been a week, and he still hasn't come home or responded to any of her messages. She knew she had made an unforgivable mistake, but she wished she had a chance to explain, if only to end the suffocating silence. Emma's assistant knocked on the door, interrupting her thoughts. Mrs. Cooper, there's a man who says he's Hawkins and wants to see you. He said he had something important to talk about. Emma frowned. She doesn't remember knowing anyone named Hawkins. Let him in, she said, curiosity overcoming doubt. A middle-aged man walked into the office, his eyes sharp and his demeanor professional. Mrs. Cooper, he spoke, I'm Jack Hawkins, private investigator. I'm here on behalf of your husband, Nathan Cooper. Emma felt a chill come over her. Her heart raced and her palms began to sweat. I don't understand, she stammered. Why would Nathan hire a private investigator? Hawkins looked at her calmly and said, Mr. Cooper would like to know about some of your past years' activities. We've done a thorough investigation, and now we have some findings we'd like to discuss with you. Emma felt the sky spinning. She knew her secret was finally coming out. She took a deep breath and tried to keep her composure. Okay, Mr. Hawkins, what do you want to know? For the next hour, Hawkins described their findings in detail. Every one of Emma's affairs, every secret date, is listed. Photos, hotel records, credit card bills, nothing is left out. Emma felt her world falling apart. When Hawkins finally finished, Emma was in tears. She realizes how much her actions have hurt Nathan and why he chose to face the truth the way he did. Mrs. Cooper, Hawkins said, with a hint of sympathy in his tone, Mr. Cooper wanted me to tell you that he will be contacting you as soon as possible to discuss what happens next. Until then, he wants you to think about the impact of your behavior on your marriage. Emma could only nod. When Hawkins left, she broke down and buried her face in her hands and cried bitterly. She knows that she may have lost Nathan's trust and love forever. Meanwhile, Nathan is in his office, being debriefed by Hawkins. Every detail was like a sharp blade that pierced his heart. He tried to remain calm, but the anger and pain inside him almost consumed him. Thank you, Hawkins, Nathan said. his voice low and calm. "You did a great job." Hawkins nodded, then hesitated. "Mr. Cooper, if you will allow me to say one thing," he spoke cautiously. "I have seen many similar cases. Sometimes, as difficult as it is, forgiveness and rebuilding are possible." Nathan laughed bitterly. "Thanks for the advice, Hawkins. But some things, once lost, can never be regained." After Hawkins leaves, Nathan begins to think about what to do next. He knew he should talk to Emma, but he wasn't ready to face her yet. Instead, he decided to deal with something he could control first. He picked up the phone and dialed a number. "Hi, I'm Nathan Cooper. I want to talk about Bob Walton's insurance." Over the next few days, Nathan began systematically contacting each of Emma's lovers. Some he talks to directly face-to-face, others by phone or email. Every conversation is carefully planned to make these people understand the consequences of their actions. In the case of Bob Walton, Nathan threatens to open a competing insurance company that will offer its services at well below market rates until Bob's business completely collapses. For the young sales rep who worked for Emma's company, Nathan made sure he lost his job and was blacklisted throughout the industry. Nathan's actions are cold and precise, but he doesn't take pleasure in them. Each retaliation made him feel more empty inside. He begins to realize that these actions don't really heal his hurt or restore what he has lost. While all this is going on, Olivia's divorce proceedings are ongoing. With the help of a top-notch attorney provided by Nathan, she obtained a favorable out-of-court settlement. Lucas had to pay a huge price, not only financially, but also in terms of his reputation and freedom. He was sentenced to probation for a domestic violence offense. Nathan made sure Olivia received all the support she needed, including financial assistance and counseling. He felt it was his due diligence and some sort of atonement for his past mistakes. However, over time, Nathan begins to question his motives. Is he really helping Olivia, or is he using her to escape his problems? Is he masking his own inner pain with sympathy for others? One night, Nathan sat alone on the porch of his farm, staring up at the star-filled sky. He thought of all the nights he'd spent with Emma, when their love had seemed as eternal as the stars in the sky. Now, everything has changed. He took out his cell phone and stared at Emma's number for a long time. He knew it was time to face reality. Whatever the outcome, they need to talk, for their own sake and for Sophia's. Taking a deep breath, Nathan hit the dial button. After the phone rang 3 times, he heard Emma's shaky voice. "Nathan? It's me, Emma. We need to talk." There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment, then Emma whispered, "Okay, Nathan, we should talk." After hanging up, Nathan felt a strange calm. He knew that the next conversation would determine their future. Regardless of the outcome, at least they're finally going to face the truth. Emma put the phone down, her heart beating wildly. She was both looking forward to and dreading the upcoming conversation. She knew that this could be her last chance to save her marriage, or at least end it in an honorable way. As night falls, both Nathan and Emma prepare for the upcoming confrontation. They both knew that no matter what the outcome, their lives would be changed forever. And somewhere in this small town, Olivia is starting her new life, grateful for Nathan's help, but also feeling complicated about her role in the turmoil. Lucas, meanwhile, licks his wounds alone in his tiny apartment, contemplating how to rebuild his life. He realized what a mistake he had made, but it was too late. For now, he can only face the consequences of his actions and hope to make amends someday. Everyone in this small town is affected by this storm, and the course of their lives is forever altered by a series of choices and events. And the conversation Nathan and Emma are about to have will be the turning point in this story, determining whether it is still possible for them to rebuild that once beautiful relationship, or whether they will have to come to terms with the reality of what has been shattered and each start a new chapter in their lives. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.